Hi, friends.
Hey,
Hey, we got this, Tony.
we're
So,
here.
everyone, thanks for tuning in. My name is Mia Park, and this is the interview series called In Response Interviews with Intriguing Internalizers. An internalizer is someone who processes the world in really cool ways, kind of maybe deeper ways or interesting ways that I hope that you'll learn some insight from. And thanks for tuning in. We're live on YouTube and simultaneously on Facebook. These videos will live there. And my name is Mia Park. Like I said, this is also going to be a podcast. And today's guest, I'm coming at you from Chicago. Today's guest, who I knew in Chicago that is now out there in La La Land, is Jose Tony Garcia. Woo!
Hey, hi.
Affectionately known as Tony.
Yes.
Yes. So Tony and I have known each other from the acting community in Chicago, the big, small acting community of Chicago. And I feel like we really bonded doing a play at the Goodman together. It's a crazy fun play.
Can we talk about that for a minute? Can we talk about that for a minute?
Yeah, we can in a second. Yeah, it was intense play. It was lots of running up and down stairs. It was a farce. It was great, but it was intense. But anyway, Tony was just a love, and I kind of got literally thrown into that. And Tony was one of the real anchors for that for me personally. And then, and then Tony's now out in LA doing it. So yeah, up to you. What do you want to say?
I just really quickly, I just want to your choice of words are amazing when you said you got thrown into the process. Literally, I just want everyone to imagine, if they will, Mia literally running across the stage and launching herself at me and landing on me like a freaking spider monkey and crawling around my body as I stood there like some sort of tree or pillar. At which point she then did a cartwheel off of my body. Imagine that how you will. And then she proceeded to turn around and like a bull charging a matador, charged at me and tackled me onto a bed on the stage, all for comedic purposes.
And I think it was in high heels and lingerie, right? I don't forget the
You
heels.
were definitely in some form of lingerie, and I'm pretty sure you were wearing high heels.
Yeah, that was awesome. I was an understudy, and they threw me in after previews had started. And like I said, Tony was not only literally a rock that I climbed and I did a handstand off of and a cartwheel off of, but also just emotionally such a good support as always. So thanks, Tony.
It was awesome. We were like a few days into previews, completely thrown into it. We had 5 minutes out in the lobby for you and I to work something out, and then we came in.
Can I climb you like a tree? You're like, yeah, do it. Great.
Yeah,
and then we rehearsed it in the lobby at the Goodman. We're just like climbing each other.
And then we came in and we turned to KJ and we were like, hey, can we just show you what we did real quick? And we showed her and she was like, yep, we're done. Okay, great. Moving on.
That's it. Yeah. Meanwhile, I think the entire cast was in physical therapy. Like, it was such a physically demanding play.
Oh yeah, they had a physical therapist on call for us. And I remember I scheduled a session and I went in and they when I walked out of there, I was actually in more pain than when I went in, because they were over massaging me. So then I didn't want to go back, and they kept being like, Tony, you haven't signed up for your 2 or 3 a week. You need to go back. And I was like, no, I'm good. I've got my icy hot. I'm all right. I don't want to go back. That lady hurt me.
Yeah, it was.
Well, small woman massage therapist hurt me. I can't go back.
It's so demanding. So for our friends watching who are not theater actors or actors who are required to do physical things, it's par for the course is what we do. And Tony is like I said, he's got his MFA and he's been in the game theater-wise and on camera for a long time. So this is just one of the lovely stories when you're, especially live theater, man. But so I know your outside world right now is LA, and that's right. It's Los Angeles time. There is 9:37 a.m. It is July 13th, 2020. So we are still in the middle of the COVID-19 pandemic. We're still with.
Is that still happening? How is it?
Yeah,
is that a thing?
Yeah, you're in California.
Yeah,
that's it. Spiking.
I know.
Temperatures rising.
For those of you listening who don't know me, that's called sarcasm.
Jose Tony Garcia, ladies and gentlemen. Okay. So, and then, so we got the outside work going on there, and of course, there's the I call it the racial justice pandemic, which is long overdue. But you are a brown man in America, still in a predominantly white field.
Dang it! So many things I'm discovering today. Yes.
Yes, sarcastic.
Yeah.
But so Tony, tell me a little bit more personally about your outside world there, and share with us what your inside reaction to that is.
Uh, Outside world, yeah, I'm in Los Angeles, California. It's super nice and sunny and breezy and more nice weather than you know what to do with. Oddly enough, it is true. You can actually get tired of beautiful weather. I know that sounds weird and it sounds like, oh, boo hoo, Tony, shut up. But it's true. I long for a nice, gloomy, rainy day. So I guess that's my outside physical world. Um, I've done some wandering around out here, not a lot, because obviously we're trying to sort of keep a low profile and stay put and stay home as much as possible. Um, with the exception of the inevitable grocery run or whatnot. So we haven't ventured off too much in our new digs. We've been here for about 2.5 months, so we've been kind of sticking around. And then, yeah, with everything else going on, we've been kind of slightly surrounded. There have been a lot of different protests all around us in different areas. So I live in North Hollywood. So I guess we live in the Valley. I guess that's part of the Valley. We're like north of the Hollywood sign and like the Griffith Observatory, like those mountains. We're north of that. So that it's North Hollywood. So most of what's been going on down here has been more gravitating towards like downtown Los Angeles. So and the actual Hollywood area. Some of it has spilled over up to up here to North Hollywood. Not nearly as much though. So because we've been up here, we haven't seen a ton. But we definitely hear all the sirens. We definitely see all the helicopters circling around all over the place. So yeah, it's it's there. It's definitely there.
Hmm. And what's your response to, like I said, we got a lot of things here. We got the health thing, we've got the whole acting industry thing, we've got the protest thing.
My response is that we are terrible human beings, and I'm really hoping that we either figure something out soon or that something gets figured out for us. As I don't even know what that means, but it's my feelings lately have not been the best. I generally try to keep some sort of an optimistic outlook on things, and I use humor as a defense mechanism. I laugh to keep from crying, that kind of thing. But it's definitely been challenging, as it has been for everyone. I'm no exception, but it's been really tough kind of sitting back and watching people and repeatedly like finding myself asking the question, like, why don't people get it? Like what's going on? Like what is so difficult about understanding what's going on and what we're in the middle of? Like there's only so much we can sort of dumb ourselves down in order to understand certain ways of thinking before it has an effect on you. Like, it's like, okay, I'm sorry, I can't stupefy myself enough to understand what's going on here. I can't do that. And it's been rough. There's been listen, I'm definitely not doing as bad as plenty of other people out there. Like we were talking about before, like the whole move out here, like moving out here in the middle of the pandemic, like there were surprisingly lots of things that worked in our favor. So it's weird to sit here and say like I benefited from this a little bit. We're doing fine. We have a roof over our head. We're able to go and we have a fridge full of food. We're able to afford our bills for the time being and all that good stuff. We're doing fine in for all intents and purposes. But it's a different kind of pain. It's a different kind of drain and strain and challenge. And as a brown Puerto Rican man, I find myself a lot in like this weird tightrope game of it's this weird thing of like falling between the cracks because I don't know exactly where I belong. I know it should seem fairly obvious where I belong, but that has not been the case for me pretty much my entire adult life, and it makes navigating all this stuff challenging in a really weird way. So that's where I'm at.
Thanks. Can you say more about feeling like you're falling between the cracks?
Yeah, I mean, so I'm for those of you listening who can't see me. So I'm Puerto Rican, but I'm slightly darker skinned than what most people would think of when they think of Puerto Rican. So like I'll tell you that I remember this was a long time ago when I first got to Chicago. I took like this scene study class, and there was a casting director who like came to see the scenes and like gave us notes and stuff. And she turns to me at one point and she goes, "Hear me out. You're gonna have a hard time here in Chicago like starting out, because people are gonna have a hard time figuring out what to do with you. You're Puerto Rican, but you don't look like what people think of when they think Puerto Rican. You could theoretically pass for African American, but obviously you're not African American, so that's also not going to work. So I think people are going to have a hard time trying to figure out what to do with you. But once they do figure it out, I think you'll be fine." And at the time, I was still a little too young to fully comprehend what she was talking about. But I remember even back then, like everybody else in the class was like, "Oh my God, I can't believe she said that to you. Like that's so messed up." And even back then, I was kind of like, well, I mean, I think there's some logic to what she's talking about though. Like I don't want to immediately, have the reaction of like, "Oh my God, how dare you?" And it's like, no, hold on. Like because by that point, I'd been in school for 8 years and I had experienced exactly what she was talking about. So I was like, no, I kind of get what she's saying, but I obviously don't fully comprehend because I just got here. I just got out of school. I just got to Chicago. I haven't experienced the real world fully just yet. And then sure enough, my career has kind of been like, if you look at my resume, most of the stuff that I've played has been like what I refer to as wild card roles, where they weren't roles necessarily dependent on the fact that I'm a Latino male or anything like that. It was just roles that were kind of nondescript. So you kind of plug anybody into it. And I happened to be the one who got plugged into it. And that's kind of been the case for me for a long time, because exactly like she said, I don't necessarily fit the mold of what people think of when they think Puerto Rican. And while I've certainly had plenty of people think that I was African American, or at least half African American or something, I'm not. So I also can't go that way, kind of thing.
It's interesting. I have two responses to your response. The first is that being a middle-aged Asian American actress in Chicago, I've had the opposite. Do you know that role that I played with you in Upstairs Concierge at the Goodman, that is the only theater role in Chicago where I wasn't cast in an Asian specific role.
As an Asian.
The only one. Every other on stage, every single other role was as an Asian person. So I'm the opposite of you. So in a way, I'm looking at you like, that's great. You can do plug-in. I can apparently in Chicago, I can only do this, right? And part of that might be just me, but I mean, it's also like, audition me for these other things. Can I at least get a chance?
Yeah, it's a tough thing because like, and it's exactly that. Like they look at you and they exactly think they know where to plug you. Because I'm sure you've got a bazillion stories about the fact that you've been asked to play all sorts of different Asian people that you actually aren't. I'm sure you've got plenty of those kinds of stories. And yeah, for me, it's this weird thing of like, so wait, what are you exactly? Like ethnically ambiguous is the sort of The
You do pass. It's always nice. It's always nice when you turn on something on a screen, on a television or a computer, and you see your friends. So I'm watching season 1 of Sense8, and there's like this big scene with these guards. I'm like, hey, there's Tony.
yeah,
There's Tony and Sense8. So in that case, here I got to say, you're right. You didn't have to be a darker skinned Puerto Rican guard or
no,
cop,
no,
but that was a physique thing. You looked badass, my friend. You were just like guy in the outfit.
thank
You were
you.
definitely scary. But I know you. Look at you. You're so kind. You're funny. You're like more of a lovely, but you are like, you can buff up if you need to.
Well, and I guess that's one of the things that's worked in my favor. I have like the brow, like the pissed off forehead, and I'm a broad dude. Like, I have broad shoulders, I have big collarbones. So you put me in the right clothes, and I look like a freaking bouncer. I look like a
You
football
look scary. You could be scary. Right.
player.
Plus, you know how to act. Yeah.
I look
So,
scary, and I have resting angry face. So it kind
mm.
of just happens that if I'm just sitting there with no emotion, like it's always like, what's Tony mad about? Like, what's going on?
So
So
can I translate that into real life? So off
yeah.
stage in your everyday life, because you
Oh
were a
yeah.
darker skinned Latino man,
Good segue
and
there. That's excellent work.
right, and you have okay, so you self-identify as having like resting angry face. You're a big dude and you're dark. Like,
Uh-huh.
how's that translate in real life?
Oh, in all sorts of fun ways. Um, I'm going to add another layer to that. My wife, Sarah, whom you've met at some point or another, is a small, petite white woman. So one of my quote unquote favorite games to play is whenever she and I go shopping, is the amount of stares that I get from people trying to figure out, like, is that guy with her, or is he stalking her, or is he about to do something to her? It's like this weird, like, distance game I have to play. Like, I either have to stand right next to my wife so that it's crystal clear that we are together, or I have to make sure that there's plenty of distance between us so that people don't worry about, like, why is this guy hovering around this small white girl kind of thing.
That's ridiculous.
I
I'm
mean,
sorry.
yeah, that's
Yeah,
that's
I'm sorry you have to gauge that. We're hearing stories like that from different, honestly, mostly I think from men of color, of darker skin color, like, the talks of fathers having to have with sons that are all darker skin, or like when you're outdoors, do this and that. Or like, there was that social media post of an African American gentleman who has to go out with his dog and his daughter just so he can go for a walk.
Oh my God. No, I literally was just I mentioned that to Sarah a couple weeks ago. Like, I read something along those lines, and all of a sudden it hit me. I was like, oh my God, how many situations has my little dog helped me avoid? We have a tiny little, like, 16-pound rat terrier. She's a loud little piece of thing. And I take her on walks all the time, and all of a sudden, like, I read something along those lines, and it hit me like, oh my God, how many scenarios has my dog helped me avoid that I am completely oblivious to because I didn't go through them? How many times has someone looked out their window and said, who's this guy walking in my neighborhood? Who is what? I've never seen this guy. And then all of a sudden they look down and see my little dog, and they're like, oh, okay. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, man, that's great.
and
And
that's,
you're kind of a great, I mean, without, like, I believe in advocacy as a lifestyle, and you may not even be and have an intention to be an advocate, but the fact that we just identified like you're a big dark dude with a resting angry face, but you're lovely, you're educated, you're funny, you are an artist, and people have no idea who they're judging when they're
no,
looking at someone like you or you, right?
no, of course not. It's literally judging a book by its cover. And like, listen, if you don't know me and you've never met me before, like, okay, that's all you have to go on. Obviously, like, if like, you're not just gonna randomly walk up to strangers and be like, tell me about yourself before I judge you. Like, that's obviously that's not gonna happen. So I mean, I get what people have to look at when they look at me, but it's still sad, frustrating, and infuriating that they give themselves no choice but to arrive at the conclusion that they arrive. And then when they do get to know me, it's just like, oh, you're so articulate. your English is so good. You know, like
Oh
like
my God, do you still get that? Do you still get that your English is so good and wow, how spoken you are?
it's been a minute, but it hasn't been long enough for me to like not, think it's like it's hysterical.
Do you think that because you have a Latin sounding name, Jose, well, Garcia, just first
Yeah,
and last
Jose
name.
Antonio Garcia.
Yeah, yeah. So just even having Jose on there and having Garcia, how do you think that's affected you in real life and as an actor? Like, as opposed to your name being Bill Smith.
Right, 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 right. I mean, I definitely get a ton of people who instantly, and I guess this is neither here nor there, I guess, but I get people who will just start talking Spanish to me, just like they just like based on my name that like they assume that that's like that I only speak Spanish, kind of thing, and then I'll respond in English and they'll be like, oh, okay. But like that's messed up, but also at the same time, my name is Jose Antonio Garcia. Like it's a very Latin name, so I kind of get it. And I'm not gonna like knock somebody for that if right away they like fix it and make the adjustment of like, oh, okay, great, no problem. But it's when people have that like shocked reaction of like, oh my God, I didn't know you spoke English. Like it's like, all right, settle down, dude. Like, come on. It's 2020. I have several seats.
Have several seats. And you know what's so interesting? Again, just because, with your training, it's like when we're actors in America training, you're doing everything for all this Western modalities. You're doing Shakespeare, you're doing Meisner,
Mm.
Stanislavski. These are all like Western acting modalities, all made by like white people, mostly white men in some cases,
Yeah.
so it's like I could probably, I almost feel like I could be that person on your shoulder going, yo, he does Shakespeare. Do you do Shakespeare? Do you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
you're questioning this guy speaking English? Like,
I mean, it's a weird thing because, like, yeah, it's like I can, I'm privileged enough to say that I've had some really kick-ass education. Like you were saying, I got my BFA, I got my MFA. Like I've gotten to work at some great freaking theaters. I've gotten to work with some great freaking artists and people, and I've learned from every single one, the good and the bad. Like I've been privileged enough to have that level of education, and it's this weird thing where like as much as having all that education, all that training has benefited me. I've also had plenty of times where it's like worked against me because then all of a sudden it's this thing of like, well, I don't even know how to explain it, but like it's this idea of I'm not my authentic self because I'm more a combination of all these different things, all these different styles, all these different isms of different training and curriculum, rather than being myself. And I'm just like, okay, but if that's what my entire adult life has been, then how is that not myself? Like I kind of get the point you're making. I also think your point is slightly bullshit. It's like this is in fact who I am. This is a weird sort of example, but I remember in school, and this guy, he was a dear friend. He was a cool guy, and I loved him. But he would make this joke often of like, I really want to get you drunk so that the real you comes out. And I was always like, what do you mean? And he's like, well, I want to see like the street Tony. I want to see like Tony from New Haven, Connecticut, from the streets. Is that you?
Oh, that's me, Chicago.
All right, awesome. So he
Just
would.
just in case you missed Chicago, I want to bring the sirens in to
Oh,
remind you.
Chicago, I love you. Thank you so much for.
It's getting better.
Oh, good. Good Lord. And
Sorry, Chicago.
no, good times. I just all of a sudden I'm looking out my window. I'm like, that's not me, right? But so yeah, like I just remember he would like he's like, I want to see the real you, and I'm like, this is the real me. Like there isn't some hidden, suppressed, street thugged out version of Tony that I've been suppressing all these years. Like this is like that's not Like, I know that's what you believe because that's what you've seen your entire life or something, but I'm here to tell you, no, like that's, I'm sorry, just because I'm a big, like dark skinned Latino man, like that we don't all come prepackaged with like street smarts or, you know, thugged out, whatever. Like that's not a prerequisite to being a Latin man.
Oh my God, can we each do that? You know, if you turn that around, can we each ethically do that? Like, oh, you're part German. Lederhosen anyone? Do you know what, like, what does that mean? Like, oh, you're Korean. Great. I can't wait to get you drunk enough that you tell me your kimchi recipe. Like,
Right.
where are you going with this?
Like, hey Mia, where are the best Korean barbecue spots? I know you know all of them. Like, where, you know what I mean? Like,
I know. But you know what? I have to say, sometimes what you just said, sometimes I actually don't mind because I do feel like I don't mind being a cultural ambassador. Like, ask me before you ask Yelp. You know what I mean? Because all the reviews on Yelp are like not Korean people. So like, or ask Yelp and then check in with me.
yeah.
But anyway, Tony, we could go on and on. But is there any last thing that you want to add?
Hoy. Oh my goodness. Wash your hands, wear your masks, be freaking nice to each other. Just try, make an effort. Go outside, get some sun, do a little Kal-El action and stare at the sun and absorb in some of that vitamin E from the sun. D, which one is it from the sun?
Vitamin D. Is that
Is
what
it
you mean?
D?
Yeah.
The vitamin you get from the sun. Go soak some of that up, whichever one that is. You know, spend some time outdoors. If you can't breathe through your mask, get a different mask, jackass. Like, dear Lord. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm going off on a tangent. It's infuriating and it sucks. Like oh my. I will say this. This is a bummer, but a friend of mine posted this not too long ago, and it like really bummed me out. The truthfulness of it. He said the biggest mistake that we made was telling people that wearing a mask was to protect other people instead of protecting ourselves. And like the truth of that bummed me out so much because I was like, holy crap, he's so right. Like
He's so right.
Had we come out and said a mask will protect you, everyone would be wearing masks because we're all selfish bastards and we all want to take care of ourselves. So everyone would be wearing a mask. But the second we can't, the second, which is the truth, like it's the science, like a mask actually protects others more so than it protects yourself. But as soon as we made that known to people were like, oh, wait, so I'm expected to wear a mask for you and everybody else in this room? Yeah, no, I'm not going to wear a mask. And it's so sad. So
I understand that, man. Well, you know, we're keeping on, and thank you for being so honest and authentic. That's one of the reasons why I think you're such a great actor. Is like you bring you to your role, and look at who you are. You're lovely. But thank you so much for joining and sharing. It's really lots of really good observations on several different things. So thank you, Tony.
You're welcome. Great, thanks. I hope. Yeah, sure. Awesome. And now I'm like in my head, I'm like replaying everything. I'm like, did I say anything stupid? What did I say? Oh God, what do I have? Am I in trouble? Like, what did
you were great. You're never in trouble, and you're as in trouble as you want to be, sir. And that's fine.
Problem. That's part of the problem.
And you can always tune in and watch back on YouTube or back on Facebook. And thanks so much for watching, everyone. Until next time. All right, take care. Bye, Tony.
Bye.